Good morning. Today I'm going to show you how to paint the peaches in this little still life painting. And so you can see here I have two versions of this going right now, and it's sort of the first couple of steps. So we did the background first, right? Well, we made the transfer first, so here's the transfer. Then we painted the background. Once the background dries, you can paint the plate the first time. You can see here that I have painted more on the plate. So watercolor paintings happen in layers, and those layers have to happen after the first layer dries. So it's kind of an important thing to remember is that this plate isn't finished. This one is starting to feel close to being finished. I will probably have to just touch up these little shadows around the edge one more time, because when the paint is wet, it's hard to tell how dark it's gonna be when it dries. It's always a little darker when it's wet, and it lightens up some when it dries. And so you do always want to think about going back and darkening things. So yesterday, I painted these two peaches because they're the backmost peaches. And like the important thing of painting the peaches is that they don't end up just being one color. So if we look at the reference painting that we're working from, you can see that they have shadows at the bottom. Peaches have brown and red and orange and yellow, and so all of the peaches have a shadow area at the bottom that relates to the shadow on the plate, and they gradually sort of get lighter toward the top unless they're a little bit more brown. You can paint the peaches however you want to. Quite frankly, if you want them to feel more like plums, you could change the color of them a little bit. That would be fine with me. The important thing to think about is that we still have the shadows, and it's hard to see the shadows when there is color involved. Our brain is really distracted by color, and we want to focus on color over value, and it's value that makes the painting work. So a trick to kind of see the value is to take a black and white photo, or to look at the painting in black and white, so that you can see that those shadows are there and that your objects feel three-dimensional. Okay, so I'm going to show you a front peach, and these also happen in layers. Like, I don't feel like these two are completely finished yet, even though I did work on those two peaches yesterday for about 35 minutes. So just to give you an idea, like, the peaches aren't just a quick one and done sort of thing. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of yellow that I'm mixing into some orange that was left from yesterday when I started the peaches. So you can see here, it's not clean yellow anymore. It's yellow with a little bit of kind of an orangey glow. And I'm actually gonna work on this peach back here, and I'm gonna put that color sort of all over to begin with. Actually, not sort of all over, actually all over. And this is kind of one of those things where I could probably paint two at the same time. So I'll go ahead and put my sort of yellowy color over. And I won't make this video long enough so that you see me completely finish a peach, just because that would be kind of longish. So I don't want to have that happen where it's too long. Okay, so I'm mixing a little more orange in now, and while my paint is wet, I am going to just come in and I'm going to push that orangey kind of glow into the yellow. And I will get to the point where everything is too wet and I have to let it dry, which is kind of a constant with working in watercolor, is that once you kind of have a big puddle, you can't do anything else and you do have to let it dry. And I'm already nearing that point right now where it's gonna start to be a little too puddly. I'm grabbing some red that I am mixing in. And I'm just gonna give this guy kind of a rosy glow. Rosy glow. And like I said, I'm soon gonna be at the place where I can't do anymore because my paint is too wet. So you can start to see that it is just a really big puddle over here. So I've squeezed my paintbrush dry and I am just gonna try to get a little bit of that water out of there, just so I can keep painting. This one isn't as bad. So what I'm gonna do now is switch to, this is red mixed with a little bit of purple and green and brown, which sounds like a weird color combination, but it is what gives me kind of this brown shadowy sort of color for underneath at the bottom of the peach. So you can see I can layer that in here at the bottom on both peaches. Cat hair, my paintbrush. And at that point, like they're fairly close to being finished, but right now they are too wet for me to completely finish. So what I'm gonna have to do is allow them to dry a bit. And then what I can do though is while it is wet in the front, I can try to sneak a little bit more. So you can see this peach back here is dry. And so I can put a little bit more paint on that back peach just to kind of darken the shadow. Now I have this weird hard line, and so I just clean my paintbrush out, squeezing it dry. And what I'm gonna do is just sort of soften that line. So you can see that once you squeeze your brush dry, you get the capability to kind of pull that paint around a little bit and soften the part that was like too dark. And then as a last like finishing touch on this back guy, I'm gonna grab a little yellow and just sort of brighten up the top. So a little bit of yellow. Just gonna give this guy a little bit more glow. Yellow usually feels like light to us. Sort of we associate that with light. And maybe just a little bit more orange around this section here. And now I have 3 wet peaches, and I'm definitely going to have to sort of let them settle a bit before I do any more painting. But I can pull a little highlight off of this guy. So go ahead, I'll post a picture of the little painting that we've been using as reference for you. And then, like I said, know that it just takes a couple of goes. If you're not happy with things, squeezing your paintbrush out. And now you can see that I'm like lifting paint instead of adding paint. So that's kind of a nice trick. These puddles I have to let dry before I paint anymore on those sections. So this is your job now for you'll probably want to work on it some today and some tomorrow, and then go ahead and post a photo of your completed peach painting to the classroom sometime tomorrow. That would be great. Thank you so much. Have fun painting.